All right. Looks like we're live here. How about that? I was busy chatting away or texting away over on chat and got a little carried away. So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Astro Weather. I've got my kind of southern blue collar truck stop look today. Has a little to do with our star of the day. Just saying. I hope everybody's well and that we're moving with these changes that are coming at us all the time in the realm that we're in. So today is the 9th of February, and let us dive in to the Astro Weather. So we have a lunar change today. The moon is in lovely, lovely Libra, the lovely Libra moon, which I am theoretically a possessor of, but only briefly. Only for this brief blink in the dream. So, yeah, we got the Libra moon today coming off the more critical Virgo moon. And yesterday was an interesting day. Very interesting day. Some friction. There was some friction in the air yesterday. And criticism, which, of course, you get with the Virgo moon. So today is a day to smooth those rough edges over. Diplomacy, politeness. Libra always has the key words of please, thank you, may I, excuse me, appreciate it, I apologize. You won't hear that out of Aries. You won't hear I apologize out of Aries, but you get it out of Libra. And today we have the moon coming into conjunction with Ceres, which is nurturing, right? It is nurturing social conduct, social codes. It's so funny how these simple things that grease the wheels of our everyday existence, simple things, opening a door for a person. I don't care who the person is. I'll open a door for a woman or a man. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And if you're somewhere in between, I'll still open the door for you. Why? Because this is how our world can function. Small things, letting somebody in when they have their blinker on, right? Giving somebody, this is a day with the Libra moon conjuncting Ceres to practice those things. It's very simple. Simple stuff. And we've been deconditioned to think that those things are a form of either weakness or enabling. In some cases, when it comes to the opposite sex, don't open that damn door for me. I can open it for myself. And in fact, I'll kick that damn door down. Today, lighten up and, extend a hand, right? This is the Libra moon, first decan, 2 degrees. We're dealing with duality, the other, right? So this is a good day to practice some of that. Now, on the other side of it, we've got some oppositions brewing. We have Vesta, which has just gone into 0 Aries, Jupiter at 7 Aries, Chiron at 12 Aries, and Juno 13 Aries. So there's a lot of now. There's a lot of now. You got to hear me. You got to hear me. You got to hear what I have to say. What I have to say is so important. And over there, the Virgo moon is like, okay, well, I'll give you about 3 minutes. And I won't say a word. I'll politely listen. The moon is receptive, right? And when your 3 minutes are up, I'll jump over to the other side of the chart and I'll occupy that space. And then you go over here, right? This is the tag team. This is the tag team action. Diplomacy and restraint, urgency and intensity. And today there's a lot of urgent and intense energy in the air. I mean, let's just be real about it. We also have Eris hanging out there at 24. It's always around 24 right now. So we have this is kind of militant. These energies are militant. Aries is militant. It's martial. So I think this is really the key energy signature for the day. Practice. You want to practice pulsing. Here will be yin, here will be yang, here will be yin, here will be yang. The yin, which is illuminated by the moon, the yang, the army of Aries, gathering together on the outskirts and periphery of your own consciousness. We have Mercury coming into that closer conjunction with Pluto, and things are said and thought about and articulated with a sense, again, of urgency, right? Urgency, intensity, depth. Everybody has something very important to say. It's life or death when it comes to lines of communication. And this is a very interesting trine because, again, theoretically by angle, Libra and Capricorn are supposed to square up. Well, we'll get some of that when the Libra moon transitions into the final degrees, the final phase of the Libra moon. We'll see some of that moon square to Pluto coming up here, right? But it won't be for another 48 hours. For now, the moon is an interesting dance partner for Mercury and Pluto. How can you share a level of intensity with emotional awareness? You know, I talk about the concept of saving face and how it's really been atomized as an aspect in our culture. And life is practice, right? Life is practice. It's the holodeck. You get to try things out. So how can you hold an intense position with something very deep and powerful and important to say? Let me give you an example and find a way to do it that brings more balance and evens the playing field in your life and in the life of others. So I'll just give you a little example, which I just actually participated in prior to today's Astro Weather. A good friend and a great researcher, Russ Winter, sent me a DM and on Twitter, and he was really disappointed that his latest article on Anthony Blinken, who is a turtle on the fence post, didn't really get any traction on Twitter. It's not his fault, right? There are algorithms on Twitter that make it difficult for people to share. People get buried, people get shadow banned, right? So I looked at it and I said, you know what? This is not your fault. So what did I do? I retweeted it, right? This is what we can do here, right? This is the emotional response to the intensity of people's experiences. Now, the question becomes, are you responsible for other people's experience? Well, no, you're not. No, you're not. But we're moving into an Aquarian field. Whether we like it or not, it's coming, right? So we have to learn how to play together in the sandbox. And sometimes playing together is not always an easy thing to do. Sometimes who's in the sandbox with you isn't normally who you'd want in the sandbox. And that's not to say that Russ is one of those people. I love Russ, and he's welcome in my sandbox any day. But this is the energy that we're working on, right? So if we're working on, and this is really a concept to wrap your arms around, if we're working on a bigger model, I won't use the word collective. I don't always like the word collective. When I think of collective, I think of Russia. Russia after the Bolshevik Revolution and the rise of collectives. Not a huge fan. So we'll call it the corpus, the body, right? The body. We're working on a new body. Heck, if you want to use the vernacular, the new body of light for humanity. How about that? And so what do? Right? We theoretically have input into that creation and experience. And the input is what we do every day. So if your goal is to create something that is counter to the systems of technotronic soulless tyranny, which are encroaching at light speed into our lives, then you have to practice being a human. And you have to consciously be aware of how your actions and emotions impact others. I'm going to get into that today on my flame. I had a very interesting interaction with a good friend who is Turkish. And he took a great deal of he didn't like what I wrote yesterday or what I talked about yesterday with Turkey and earthquake wars. I'm going to address that a little bit, but not today, not here today. It'll be on my 15 minutes of flame show, but it's part of Operation Libra Moon. So how can you stay in the field, honor the level of intensity, penetration, insight, and depth, while not sacrificing your emotional position for the other? Today's one of those days. You get to work it out, right? You're on the holodeck of life, the sun moving and inching ever closer to Saturn. We're right now in a very nice orb. Over the next couple of days, the Sun-Saturn conjunction allows you to begin to practice your what? Your authority, Saturn's authority, hierarchies. So you get to try it out, you get to play it out, but it's not about you, right? This is to me, Aquarius is the great paradox, and it speaks to our condition. You're the center of the universe, but you're not. This is the paradox, right? Everything starts with you, but it doesn't end with you. And so here we have, over the next couple of days, this Sun-Saturn conjunction coming into focus. And there can be some real clarity around that in your life. When the sun gets closer and closer and collapses the orb from 4 degrees in, it gets harder and harder. And you have to really watch out for kind of a cold and ruthless tyranny. And we all slip into these things sometimes. We all have a little tyrant inside of ourselves, right? But then on the external, we'll see that as well. We'll see the reflection on the external, and we'll see some of the machinations of these absolute soulless tyrants that are making broad-based decisions across the board for everybody in the realm, right? That is Aquarius. One rule, one mandate, one mass for all. And as we have the sun moving closer into, this is a very important conjunction coming up with Sun-Saturn. We're going to see some things revealed during that time that will get your attention. You'll see it clearly in yourself and your interactions with others, but that will also be externalized in the world. Venus getting closer here. Now we're in a 7-degree orb with Neptune. Again, it's manageable, right? It's in that sweet spot, that 7-degree orb where, yeah, you can love unconditionally. Yeah, you can forgive. You know, everything's kind of moving away from Mars. So this tit for tat, this, well, you wronged me, now I'm going to wrong you, energy is dissipating. And what'll be interesting is that 2 days out, when the moon moves into Scorpio and begins to trine Venus and begins to trine Neptune, whatever kind of fractures and fissures have happened over the last 3 to 4 days can heal up, right? They can heal up. But with the Scorpio moon, you got to dig, you got to go deep. And everybody's accountable. Everybody is accountable. Nobody gets off scot-free. Nobody has a superior position. Do you know why? Because you could have the superior position for a brief period of time, but that'll change, right? That will change. We live in a mutable universe. We live in a fixed universe. We live in a cardinal universe. It's all there together. But this is an important kind of turn on the wheel, right? So when the moon goes into Scorpio, and again, we're talking 2 days from now. We're looking at a weekend moon. Should be a very intense weekend, but good, deep, healing, facing the shadow with that moon in Scorpio creeping up on the south node. And it feels like there can be a profound sense of healing this weekend. But it's not always easy, because when you go into the shadowy area, you got to own your shit. Yeah, that's my shit. I'm channeling David Palmer now. You understand what I'm saying? You guys are smart. You're bright. So that's really the bulk of the Astro Weather today. I think there's a fair amount of owner operator guidance and direction in the chart. It was great. A lot of people said I got a haircut yesterday. I made an appointment to get some dental work done. Right. So it's really good to see and understand that people are grasping kind of these windows of opportunity, and you get it with the true Juno and Chiron conjunction, right? Healing the head, healing the mouth, healing our will, and using this opportunity to do something different and new. I love it. Absolutely love it. All right. So the star of the day today, today was kind of a tricky day for star of the day. I got to tell you, Aquarius, February 9th is kind of your soft underbelly. There's not a lot of interesting people. I'm just saying, if your birthday is today, first of all, happy birthday to you, and I hope you have a great solar return year. That you have an opportunity to put a stamp on February 9th. And I have found every day in Aquarius to be really interesting. And I have all these kind of very diverse characters, but all sharing a common theme, which is rebellion, which is being radical, which is being revolutionary, which is being iconic, from Johnny Rotten to James Dean, right? I mean, that's musically, that's where the icon is. We have Johnny Rotten, who's sung by Neil Young. Neil Young sings about John. This is the story of Johnny Rotten. It's better to burn out than it is to rust, right? So he covers the Johnny Rotten territory. And the Eagles cover the James Dean territory in the song James Dean. So they're both Aquarians too. It's very interesting. And I wanted to clear something up. And somebody brought up something yesterday in the comment section. Yes, James Dean was born from a previous generation, Pluto and Cancer, but he comes of age. The people in the 50s who are boomers are coming of age when James Dean begins to make his mark. So he sets the tone for everything that's connected for being a rebel without a cause, right? He is the iconic silver screen rebel, right? So I just wanted to clear that up. He's not a boomer. He comes from a generation before the boomers, but he impacts the boomers. So today we have the most interesting person I could find on this day. And this is no slight to this person because I think he's kind of interesting. It's Travis Tritt. And Travis Tritt got my attention about a year ago when, all these recording artists were dealing with the strictures and the absolute insanity of jabs and masks. And he's a touring artist. He's one of the few musicians that stood up against what was going on with the madness, right? I could count them on one hand. Travis Tritt, Van Morrison, and Ian Brown. Those are about the only three artists that I saw that had any kind of pushback for what was going on. In fact, I'm not a big country western guy, although I live in country western country. But I went to Travis Tritt's website. And he probably doesn't need my support. The guy's probably filthy rich. But I actually bought a T-shirt from his website just to support his position around the you-know-what. So when we look at his chart, we can see some of this, right? We can see the true node right there in the first house, anaretic degree Cancer. This whole thing started. It all started when the true node was in Cancer. Not at this degree, but much deeper, right? When it was right around 2, everybody was staying at home, right? So with Cancer rising, you can see the Cancer rising phase here. And this is a really good illustration of what a Cancer rising person, he's got a moon face. You'll see this with Cancer rising people. You'll also see it displayed in their chest area because Cancer rules the chest. And there, as far as women go, Cancer rising women tend to be busty, right? They tend to be very chesty. Because why? Well, they're mothers. You know, it's a maternal ascendant. And so what is he doing? Well, he's thinking about his body. He's thinking about balance. He's thinking about reciprocity, which is what Cancer is known for. And so, you know, he kind of goes on the offensive. Well, of course, he's got Mars and Leo as well. And Mars and Leo, even though his Mars, I think, is stressed, it takes a stand. And you can see the dichotomy here with his sun in Aquarius and the opposition to Mars. And I'm going to get to his sun, and he's got a very interesting story that relates to his sun, which I'll talk about here. But the generation and the force of personality begins in the 8th house, and it manifests over here with Mars. So he thinks about it, ruminates, percolates, ferments, and then boom, move into action. Mars and Leo. Now, he does have this square with Neptune. So, you know, it's an interesting square and one that can be fraught with pitfalls, right? The person may not always have as much confidence in what they do with a Sun-Neptune square. They can look to the approval of others or do things that seem to be selfless, but they're not. There's usually a transaction in there. Now, Aquarius, it's a little bit different. So, you know, Aquarius inverts everything. So even some of the more traditional interpretations of a Sun-Neptune square get kind of turned on their head a little bit. But the baseline is still there, right? And the Mars-Neptune square is having to deal with defeat. Now, if you're going to have a Neptune square with Mars, I would say Leo and Scorpio are an interesting combination. This is very alchemical. It's all fixed. So when he would go through something, there's the potential of really going through something. And who knows what led to his decision around speaking out against the jibber jab and ultimately finding his own solution for Taurine and things like that. He's got an Aries midheaven, and people who have Aries midheaven have to move into action, right? In the world, they have to be fearless. And he has Chiron up here. And so to do that for him, that would have been a risk, right? I'm going to say something. I'm going to be maybe branded a heretic, but you have to do it with an Aries midheaven. There's no vacillating. There's no Libra going on and weighing things out and trying to figure out, well, should I, shouldn't I, should I? No, Aries is just all in, right? And then he has all this Virgo down here, Uranus and Moon and Pluto. So yeah, could he take an unusual position around health? Absolutely. Absolutely. So Travis Tritt is an interesting character. Now, here is, he also has a Sun-Saturn conjunction. And, you know, Sun-Saturn conjunctions are really built on longevity. So the thing with Saturn is we get more authority later on in life, right? That's the nature of Saturn. We can become more, we literally grow into our Saturn. So would Travis Tritt would he have made a stand 20 years ago? Maybe not. You know, maybe not. Maybe it took him to go through his Saturn return, which he did, and then began to make a stand on something that was very, very unpopular. And so here we have the maturation. And the squares, with any square, is an opportunity to grow, right? To be able to make a decision in the face of what? Losing one's ability to create or perform, which is very Leo. This is courage, you know, facing the consequences with a Mars square. Even over here, with the Neptune square, even over here, facing the consequences with the Neptune square. Now, here's a kind of an interesting piece of his chart. Apparently, he has a cabin that he goes to. I think it's in Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, he started hearing voices at this cabin. He built the cabin on land. And every time he'd go back to the place, he kept hearing more voices, and they would see footprints. And they actually saw the imprint of a body on the bed that they were. So Travis Tritt was living on a portal, right? And they actually did a show. I guess there's a show called Paranormal Activity or something like that. And they actually went to the cabin and poked around. They were hearing voices there. Him and his wife were hearing voices on this place. Ladies and gentlemen, that is an eighth house sun, right? And apparently the story was that there was what was called a hoodoo man who lived there and was killed by people who thought that the hoodoo man was evil. And so Paranormal Activity found this out later. And so something happened on this land. So there are some deep ancestral spirits, both the hoodoo man and theoretically the people who strung the hoodoo man up. And Travis Tritt with his eighth house sun squaring Neptune. Boy, that is another example of how worlds can get very thin with a Neptune squared, especially the position. Look where Neptune is. It's in the fourth house, just getting ready to ingress into the fifth. That's the home, right? Squaring his sun in the eighth house. The eighth house, death, sex, the supernatural, magic, the occult, the dead, ancestors, ancestral spirits. Very interesting. So it's always fascinating when, I kind of dive into somebody that I don't know a lot about. And then boom, you can see how it emerges through the chart, or how a particular experience emerges through the chart. Now, apparently he got into a big bus accident. And that's a theme with Aquarians. Aquarians get into accidents, right? It is Uranus. It's a Uranus effect with Aquarius. Accidents, things that just go strangely south. And I had a longtime friend, Aquarian, double Aquarius. And man, did this guy have the weirdest shit happen to him. And in fact, he got into an accident that changed his life. So maybe we'll save that for the Sunday night show. We'll get into the Uranian explosive and accident prone nature of the sign. Something to look forward to. All right. Thanks everybody for being here. You know what I have to do at the end of the show? I have to give a bit of a nod to the sponsor of the show. And of course, that sponsor is True Hemp Science. And I'm a big fan of their products. I'm actually sipping a little bit of the moon dust today. I always do at the onset of my day. The moon dust is a CBGA product. It's a bit of a kissing cousin of CBD, and it's great. And I would not do without my gummies at night. They're a big part of my nightly ritual, and to help me sleep. They're really efficacious, as they say. But there are other things that you can get here at True Hemp Science. There's nano emulsified products for CBD. There's water soluble. There's pet sounds for your pets. I got a big reveal this weekend where we initiate the new cat into the household. So maybe we'll pick up some pet sounds and dose Jasper up a little bit. He's feeling very insecure, I can tell. And then there's topical stuff as well. So if you're interested, go to truehempscience.com/ref/23, type in 15 mins, and you'll get free product attached to your order. $100 or more gives you $150 more gives you free shipping. And then lastly, I do a show, a live stream at 9/11 here, Central Standard Time, 15 minutes of flame. I'm going to do a bit of a follow-up on the earthquake in Turkey and look at some other factors involved here. So it's 15 minutes of flame. That's ovflame.com. And that's at 9:11 a.m. Central Standard Time, 10:41 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's an hour and a half, Tuesday through Thursday. Please join us. We have a great chat, great discussion, and hope to see you there. All right. Use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. Have a blessed day, and love to each and every one of you. And continue to walk your path and walk ever closer to self-realization that the living God of the universe dwells within you and you are it. Take care and bye for now.